Welcome to Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. I'm Rob Wilson.
And I am Tony the Quano.
So, Tony, we just finished up our summer blockbuster series last week. So today, we're going to be doing something a little bit lesser known. Definitely not a blockbuster.
Definitely not a blockbuster.
Say what, this one in the U.S. and Canada only made $2 million? Is that right?
Something along those lines. What I did look up is that for the year it was released, it was the 199th highest grossing film.
And it also had the bad luck of premiering the same weekend as The Dark Knight.
I mean, granted, it was an independent movie, and its widest release was actually in September. But yes, that is unfortunate. But when you're a small independent movie, that can happen.
But just because it's a small independent movie that didn't make a whole lot of money compared to other movies, it doesn't mean that it's a bad movie. This is actually a good movie.
It's actually got a good cast.
Yes, it does.
It's got Woody Harrelson in it, right?
Ben Kingsley.
And everyone knows Woody Harrelson. Ben Kingsley. Kate Mara, and not exactly the most well-known director, but within kind of independent world at that time was enough of a name. But it's not one of those. I mean, it was well received by critics, but it's not like it was one of those kind of critic darling type movies either that gets all the awards.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's no less deserving of a watch or talking about.
Oh yeah, it's a very enjoyable movie. It's a good movie. It's definitely a thriller. It sort of keeps you on the edge of your seat at times. But yeah, so the movie that we're doing today is Transsiberian.
Yes, as we said, starring Ben Kingsley, Woody Harrelson, Emily Mortimer, Kate Mara, directed by Brad Anderson.
Yep.
And I think for me, that was part of where some of the, suspense comes from, is having known his movies.
Yep.
Like The Mechanist.
Yep.
That's more psychological than what this was. But it's a type of movie where you didn't really know where it was going.
But that was a fantastic
movie. So, it was. So with this, later in the movie, when the main characters get in danger, I think having that in the back of my mind watching this, it's you're not exactly certain what's going to happen. Will it be a happy ending?
Yeah, exactly. And about halfway through the movie, you start thinking one thing that you hope isn't true, but but they're really leading you to believe it.
Yeah, and I think I'm trying to remember when I watched it. I think I want to say I remember we watched this together at some point.
Yeah, we did. We watched this together.
Before that,
it was when we watched it together. I think it was the first time either of us had seen it.
I think so.
And it was the only time I had seen it until a few days ago when I rewatched it for the podcast.
Basically the same for me.
Yeah.
Which is really kind of a shame because I think I ended up getting the DVD and never really watching it again.
Me too. Because we watched it. We Netflixed it.
Yes.
Right? Back when Netflix was doing the DVDs. Back when the streaming stuff was still in its infancy. So yeah, we had gotten the DVD for Netflix in 2009, 2010.
Something around those lines.
That range. And yeah, we watched it. I remember enjoying it. It had been so many years since I'd seen it that when we decided to do it for the podcast, I didn't remember a whole lot of the plot. I remembered certain story beats, but really most of what I remembered was it took place on a train.
Yeah.
And
it took place on the Transsiberian Railroad. And Woody Harrelson and Emily Mortimer are married to each other.
Yeah, I remembered that.
Danger arises.
Yes. And so I didn't remember much of the movie itself, but I did remember that it was good. I remember that we both enjoyed it, especially since we both enjoyed it enough to each buy the DVD back then.
No, not watch it.
And then, just keep it on the shelf and not watch it.
For the next 15 years.
Yeah. But
so, and it's funny because I didn't even, I'm sure I have it in a box somewhere still. I ended up having watched it on Prime Video.
Oh.
That's how. So, yeah. But, yeah, it was a great movie back then and now. So, and it's funny because, I vaguely remember Ben Kingsley being in it.
Mm-hmm.
But not much about his character. And Ben Kingsley can play almost anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, he played Gandhi.
Yeah, he literally played Gandhi. And you believe it, right? And here he plays a Russian. Even though this movie is shot in Lithuania, not in Russia.
Yeah.
But it helps the movie to give it a good feel. And it's interesting because because it does have a good cast and it's shot on location, it doesn't feel like a small budget movie necessarily. It throws you in there, right? You're in the docks of some Russian city and it's in the middle of winter.
Mm-hmm.
And the cops are with a dead body.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's one of those movies where it starts out there. You wonder if it's going to be, subtitled the whole movie.
Yeah.
Because that opening scene. Which, by the way,
they're just speaking Russian.
Before we get into it, spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about the entire movie, beginning, middle, and end. So if you have not seen it and you don't want to be spoiled, pause the podcast, watch the movie, come back and listen. If you have seen the movie or you don't mind being spoiled, then keep on listening.
Probably a good idea for this movie to just watch it.
Yeah, it's definitely
a lot
worth
of you may
watch.
not have seen it.
Yeah, definitely worth a watch.
So it opens up there. It's on a cargo ship in some dock in Russia somewhere. It's middle of winter. It's cold. They got all the Russian accoutrement on to bundle up, and Ben Kingsley arrives and there's a dead body, and it's just this guy sitting at a desk, and he's had he's got the knife shoved in the back of his head.
He's got a knife, right? Shoved into the base of his skull. Right.
They're looking around, and then he's a very thorough. You can tell Ben Kingsley. Okay, he's some type of cop or vet. Right. Mm-hmm. And he's investigating the scene, and he's got his gloves on, and he's looking at everything, and he sees that he was staring at a section of the wall. Right.
Yep. So he goes over, feels around that section of the wall, and it ends up being a hidden compartment.
Yep. It's empty.
Mm-hmm.
So no money or no drugs, whatever it was that was being smuggled or hidden.
That they knew that this guy was associated with drugs, the victim, the dead guy. They knew that he was associated with drugs, and they were, it was established that they're in an investigation on drug smuggling.
Yeah.
But that's all we really know at this point.
So then that's it. It's definitely like a cold open, and we don't really see Ben Kingsley again for
very cold open because it's in Siberia.
Yeah, we don't see Ben Kingsley again for halfway through the movie. So
yep.
The next thing we do, it's this nice, brightly colored now in
China.
Beijing.
Yep, in Beijing. We got a church group.
Basically these Americans are on this church group on a mission to help kids in China.
Mm-hmm.
It's upbeat music. It's the guy that's speaking is almost like a very motivational type speaker,
yes.
right?
The minister.
You've done a great job.
Yeah. The minister, played by Mac McDonald.
Mac McDonald. But it's the end of this mission, and he's sending them back, saying you've done this great job, and kind of trying to encouraging them to kind of continue their work and be strong in faith, right?
Yeah.
And two people are an American couple, Woody Harrelson and Emily Mortimer.
Roy and Jesse. Roy and Jesse.
Yes. And, they do a little bit of sightseeing still in China before they decide that they want to just stay in Europe for a little longer, right? Why not? Right? Not Europe, but they want to stay abroad, a little bit longer. I mean, I guess the plan is to get to Europe, right?
Yeah.
And Roy is a train enthusiast.
Yes. You might even tip the scale over to train nut.
Yes. No, train nut, because I think that's one of those kind of hobbies where there's a fine line and a lot of people cross it, and they're just okay.
Yeah.
You do you.
Yeah.
Trains are kind of cool. I get that. And they're a lot of fun when you're 5 or 6. And in some ways they can still be kind of cool, but not to this level.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, from the get-go here, that Woody Harrelson, the big scenes and the larger acting, so to speak, goes to Emily Mortimer.
Yes.
I think Woody Harrelson is really, really good in this movie.
I do too.
Because he is a very just kind of common American dude.
Yeah.
And it's Woody Harrelson.
It's Woody Harrelson. It's Woody Harrelson. You're not used to him playing just a completely straight character.
But you buy him as just some normal American dude.
Yeah.
And he's he's naive. But he kind of has a fun streak in a little bit of a way. He's looking to have a little bit of fun on this trip.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to drink a bunch of vodka on trains with strangers.
Yep.
And he owns a hardware store.
Yep.
And you completely buy him as just a normal American dude who would be very anonymous if you're just kind of walking down the street or you're sitting down at dinner on a night out, and he's at the table behind you, right?
Yep.
So he plays it really, really well.
Yes, he does.
So they get their tickets and they're going to take the train to, I guess it's to Moscow. So like the longest train ride in the world, right? And I mean, I get it. It's a fun idea if you're there.
They're going on a 6-day train journey.
To do it.
Yeah, it's a 6-day journey from Beijing to Moscow.
Yes. And they get on the train, and there's all sorts of characters. Like, there's a bunch of like Russian ladies working on it that scream at them.
Mm-hmm.
There's they don't speak Russian, they don't speak English, and talk about the bathroom being broken, and they scream at you. That's like your fault that the toilet won't flush, right?
Maybe they shouldn't have clogged it.
Yeah, eat a higher fiber diet.
Yeah.
Don't drop serious logs.
Yep.
They go on to the diner compartment. They meet a French dude, and it's the only scene that he's in.
Yeah.
But he's kind of important, a little bit of important kind of background exposition information about just how things kind of work. There's still distrust between the Chinese and the Russians, and they both are very concerned about contraband. So there's definite frequent searches for drugs and the like. And we consist, it's one of the constant things, especially you see in the first half of this movie.
Yeah.
Is you got men with dogs trying to sniff out drugs.
Yes. And this is also when we learn that the Russian police aren't necessarily, the most straightforward, honest group.
Yeah, no shit.
They're, they're very corrupt and
would have never guessed that in a million years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if someone is caught with drugs, then they get their ass handed to them.
Yeah.
Sometimes literally.
So, I like it because it sets up vital information, especially for, I think, Emily Mortimer's character, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was her name again?
Jesse,
right? And we don't know much about her yet, but like she has more of a difficult past, so to speak, right? We find out later that she is sober, and Roy knows about her past, and now they've kind of settled into their marriage, their happy marriage, right? And I love the scene where, before we really get into the meat of the story, right? I guess Roy's, he's had a little bit of drink, she hasn't, and they get back to the train car, and they do as couples sometimes do on train cars when they have their own sleeper cabin. They get a little frisky and passionate. And I guess we then find out that they forgot the birth control, right?
Yes.
And Roy wants to continue.
But Jesse insists that he wear a condom.
And later we kind of find out that she's still a little bit hesitant about this whole idea of like kind of a permanence that a child might be. Yeah. So anyway, he goes to bed disappointed, and they sleep. And then I guess it's sort of trying to get it, because I know there's that scene too where he talks about the different gauge on the tracks. Yeah. Right. And because they talk about different gauge because China and Russia didn't trust each other during the war, right? And so they built different gauge tracks. And when you have to cross that international border, right? The train stops, and they switch. They just get onto the correct track. So anyway, after this night of the failed lovemaking, they wake up. It's a type of cabin where really they have bunk beds, right?
Yeah. So it's a small sleeper cabin. There are 4 bunks. So there's 2 sets of bunk beds.
Yeah. And so they had the one set, and she's on the bottom bunk and he's on the top bunk. And anyway, she's kind of waking up, right? And she's eyes are kind of half open, and there's this couple standing by the other bunk, right? They got their bags on the bed, and they're kind of flirting with each other. And then, she kind of, her eyes open, and she's staring at them, and they start to make out a bit, and then they see her, and they stop, right? So this couple is Carlos and Abby,
played by Eduardo Noriega and Kate Mara.
I guess at this point, Roy had actually already met them. Right. Yeah. So he had gone down again because we said it's just a small sleeper car, right? So like the bathroom and the shower are in a separate compartment on the train, right? They have to shower and bathe and get cleaned up there and then have the toilet. So they meet them, and then they end up meeting all together down in the diner car.
Yep.
Right. And most of it at this point is the kind of the simple, innocent kind of, you get to know you.
Yeah,
type of things.
the getting to know each other kind of thing. I mean, they're going to be sharing a sleeper car, so they might as well try to get to know each other. And what we've also find out pretty early on in the movie is Jessie likes to take pictures. She's got a camera, and she's always taking pictures of whatever she sees. Usually it's people.
Yes.
She'll, see somebody, gazing out a window or something like that. And she'll just take pictures of people, of the goings on around her.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good point because it comes up a lot and becomes an important plot point, and it's there because it's part of who her character is, and then they use it well within the story.
Yeah.
But she takes a lot of pictures in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're at the diner car and they're talking, and so it was the point where they're kind of talking about how the customs authorities, when they were switching from China to Russia, held up Roy a little bit longer.
Yeah, because they thought that his passport was fake.
Yeah. And Carlos says, because it's new.
Yeah, it's new. There's no stamps in it.
Have the only stamp they would have had would have been, coming from the U.S. into China, right?
Yeah, so I mean,
it's the
less stamps there are, the easier it is to forge a passport. So he's like, that's why they stopped you. That's why they held you, because they thought, because there's not too many stamps on it, so they thought it might have been fake. And then he pulls out his passport, and it's just full of stamps. He's like, see?
And he's saying, it's funny. His bottom line is that you need to look inconspicuous.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. He's later in the movie they get so paranoid. They don't exactly look inconspicuous.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they, kind of strike up a bit of, not so much like a friendship, but they enjoy each other's company, and they end up spending an evening with a bunch of Russians later in the evening, all of them. And,
and Jessie takes a liking to Abby. Jessie and Abby seem to get along really well.
They're kind of like kindred type spirits.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost, I wouldn't even say that. It's almost like big sister, little sister type of thing.
Yeah.
Which is important for, later in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can tell already that Roy is too trusting.
Yeah.
Right. It goes into being the naive aspect.
Yeah.
Of things,
I mean, he's naive. He's clearly somebody who has never been outside of the U.S., so he doesn't know what goes on in these other countries. He doesn't know, the differences in culture, differences in just people's attitudes.
No. And Jessie, I don't think she's ever really been outside the States either, but she's been through enough different things and has enough of a past that, she's going to be a little bit more cautious around people.
Yeah, she's not going to be quite as trusting.
But, they all kind of, again, I hesitate to say friendship, but enough of a companionship of company. Yeah. Right?
They're amicable roommates.
Which is good if they're going to be spending the next 5 or 6 days together.
Yeah.
I mean, a little unfortunate for two of them that's who they got paired with.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny because we're going to be, in a couple episodes, we're going to be doing another unfaithful pairing.
Yes. But you have to wait and see what that one is. But,
wow, I did not.
I didn't think of that either.
When we're doing that, so you have to wait 2 episodes, or actually 1 episode, because you'll find at the end of the next episode what we're talking about.
Yeah, but it's coming.
Think about Kate Mara though. Like, was this I think that's in Kate Mara before this, right?
Yeah. You'd seen her in 24 before this.
That's right. She was in 24 before this. Thank you. I'd also seen her in Brokeback Mountain. Forgot she was in that. Okay. Oh yeah, Shooter was the year before this too.
Yes, it was.
Whereas Eduardo Noriega, I don't know if I really haven't seen him in anything. I really haven't seen him in anything else. He makes a bunch of movies from Spain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only other thing I had seen
English movies.
Yeah, the only other thing I'd seen Eduardo Noriega in was The Last Stand, the Schwarzenegger movie.
Ah, that's right. Okay, there he is. He was in Vantage Point. I saw that. I don't remember that movie at all. I remember Matthew Fox was in it. Anyway, yeah. Then they get to the point where, it's almost kind of like in Titanic when they go down to the bowels of the ship, right? And Leo shows Kate the real party, right? And it's the Irish just all dancing and all drinking.
It is very similar to that.
Bunch of drunk Russian dudes. Most are like steel workers or whatnot, or miners, fishermen, or they work on some boats or whatever it might be. They work at the farthest end of Russia in the coldest place on earth. And they will drink a lot of vodka.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, after, one of those nights, you still have Jesse kind of sleeping there at the bottom bunk, and, and she kind of rolls over, wakes up a little bit, and she's privy to some
to
Captain sex.
Carlos and Abby both sharing the top bunk on the other set of bunk beds.
Carlos sees her and makes eye contact.
And doesn't stop.
Kind of a strange tricycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it more like, is that like a four-wheeler? Because you do have Woody Harrelson in there.
You do, but it's more like a shopping cart where three of the wheels are going straight, but the other one's kind of wonky.
Yeah,
because Woody Harrelson's sleeping.
And for some reason, Carlos is thinking a lot about him. Anyway. I don't know that, but, it's got to be in the back of his mind that Woody Harrelson's right over there. It's Woody Harrelson. He played Larry Flint,
Mm-hmm.
He also, anyway. So, they get off of one of these towns, and now, Jesse's excited because he wants to take lots of pictures of the townsfolk, right?
Yeah.
And it's an aspect I like because, it's like, oh yeah, this is truly backwoods Russia.
Mm-hmm.
You really get a sense of everything, right? And they talk about what food you should eat and all these other things that are being sold. And he even, I guess they get off of a couple towns, right? Because they kind of have that, and they get back on the train, and there's a scene where you get just Jesse and Carlos together.
Yeah, Jesse and Carlos in the cabin, in their sleeper cabin.
There's always this is where it gets interesting because Jesse kind of lets her guard down around him a little bit.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have feelings immediately for him, but you can tell he's trying to seduce her.
Yeah.
And he ends up locking the door because he says he doesn't want the poles around the train to get in there and bother them, right?
Yeah.
Because he wants to show a secret, and and he's keeping this secret also from Abby, right? Because technically it's illegal.
Yes.
He's going to show some smuggled goods, right? It's dolls, right?
Yeah, it's nesting dolls. It's Russian nesting dolls. A whole suitcase full of them.
Yeah, whole suitcase.
And so Jesse goes to reach for one of them, starts to pick it up, and he stops her. And he's like, no. This one's my favorite. And so he picks up a different one. And this one is different than the others because all the others are sad. This one's smiling. This one's happy.
Yeah.
But all the others are sad. So he's showing it to her, and she's, opening it up. She's like, I love these things. And, going through the different sizes of the dolls in there.
Right. And you get into the final one.
Yeah. And he's very particular about, this is the one that you can see. These other ones, leave them alone. So we know there's something fishy about them.
Right. And then Rory comes back in, right? He was out he's getting a shower, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, Carlos quickly hides all the dolls because okay. So they get off the train again, right? And this time, what's the town? It's Ilin I'm going to just butcher it. Ilin Skya,
Mm-hmm.
So anyway. And this time, you really have they separate out a bit, right? It's Jess and Abby, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking, and almost, this all of a sudden, they're truly bearing personal deep information.
Yeah.
The
two of them they've really connected.
Right. And we find out that Abby's from Seattle, right? Or we find out later that she's from Seattle. No. I don't think she ever volunteers that she's from Seattle.
No, she does. I think it's here. Okay. I think it's when Jesse and Abby are talking here.
That's right, yeah. But I think it's over the course of the movie, you kind of question if she's from Seattle.
Yeah.
And later on in the movie, it actually does get confirmed she's from Seattle. She's an American.
Mm-hmm.
But, you question enough about, okay, you definitely don't trust Carlos.
Yeah. Yeah, so
but you're not sure about her.
Evidently, Abby and Carlos met recently. They met and started dating recently. They haven't been a couple for long.
Nope.
And they've been traveling together. And
we find out later, and it does have that feel of it. And this is kind of where it is well written. They're both well acted. It's just that she's just more of his most recent travel companion.
Yeah.
That's it. Nothing more. Like, she's probably definitely not aware of the full extent of everything he does.
Mm-hmm.
Probably knows that what she thinks is that he just kind of, smuggles, certain items. She doesn't really know what he's actually smuggling.
Yeah.
He's smuggling chlamydia. She has chlamydia also. No.
Maybe a little syphilis too. But I don't know. I mean, with some of the stuff that we hear about him later, then I wouldn't be surprised. But
right. But this is also where, like, Jesse just kind of volunteers, like, she used to be an addict, right? And she met Roy because, like, she, like, crashed into his car.
She was drunk and crashed into his car. And
which almost seems like, no, that can't possibly be true. But then you see that from Roy, and you're like, that's probably true.
It's probably true. And that's why she won't drink now. She refuses to have any alcohol.
Right. No, and she's very adamant about this line. So she has a lot of self-control on this.
Mm-hmm.
But, she's able to read Jesse well because of her own past. Like, Abby is running away from something.
Yeah.
Whereas, who knows? But, they have this really good conversation. And again, like, it's almost a big sister, little sister type of back and forth, in this town in Russia.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Carlos and Roy are exploring trains.
Yes. Yes, Roy is telling Carlos all about these old steam engines that are over here.
He's really excited.
About these steamers.
Steam engines in this town. It's like the idea for this trip it was basically just like, because it's the Transsiberian Railroad. Like, that's the ultimate nerd train thing to do. But then you could do these other kind of cool things in these villages and really, like, get an authentic sense of Russia. And instead, he wants to see trains that are outside of town. Yeah. Yeah. With a complete stranger.
Yeah. Rather than spending time with his wife on the train and, keeping her company. He's off with Carlos. He's off with Carlos looking at old steam engines.
Baby Carlos.
And so while they're sitting there talking, Carlos kind of walks over to one of the train cars, and there's this bar, like this pipe that's leaning up against it.
Little iron bar pipe.
Little iron, like, L-shaped bar.
Maybe something that they use to, like, something they use for the tracks, some type of rare worker's tool.
Yeah, or like a railing that had broken off or something. It isn't really super clear what it is, but
you can tell it's heavy.
He's kind of over there. He's sort of playing around with it a little bit while Roy is going on and on about these trains.
And this is actually a really well executed scene because they don't utilize, like, ominous music.
Yeah.
Right. But like, the camera kind of steps away from Roy. Roy is just kind of aloof. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He's in his world talking about trains and about how, we're having some marital problems because he doesn't want to have kids, apparently. Right?
No, because he wants kids, but Jesse doesn't.
Yeah.
So that's causing some marital problems there. And this whole time he's going on.
Talk about before you get married, by the way.
Yes.
If you're engaged out there. Make sure you settle that.
Yeah.
Before the wedding day.
Yeah, because it'll cause some issues down the line if you don't talk about that kind of thing.
Because, hey, there might be a night where you get in the throes of passion, and then when it comes time, like, oh shit, I forgot something. And then if you're like, oh well, kids are in the plan, you just. And anyhow, enough of that. So he's talking about that, and we just kind of get Carlos just staring at him, thinking about this iron that he's got in his hand, and
I mean, you could tell the gears are turning in his mind. Yeah,
and there's actually an important aspect of this because you can tell he doesn't want to kill him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he needs to be able to isolate him from Jesse, right?
Yeah.
So, which we don't really fully know yet, but we'll get to that.
So,
and then finally Roy kind of goes off between two trains, and then it almost just looks like we don't see it, but it seems like he just decides to walk away also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
but we don't know what else happens.
Yeah, Roy goes to get a closer look at some of the other trains up there. So he walks between two trains and sort of calls Carlos over there with him. So Carlos, drops the bar and follows him over. And then they kind of disappear behind the trains.
Yes, that's right.
And then next thing you know, the train that they're riding on is getting ready to leave. And Jesse and Abby are there. And Carlos is there. But Roy's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, they all kind of get on, and then it's not really until once the train gets moving that she realizes, oh no, Roy's not here, and she ends up checking.
Yeah, so she searches all over the train.
One car they're actually in, checking the different compartments, checking the bathroom and the shower, and she gets the Russian lady screaming at her again. And
yep. She checks all over this train and cannot find Roy anywhere.
It's just like it's a train. It's got to be somewhere, right?
So she starts to worry
if he got on the train.
And Carlos is telling her it's okay. I'm sure he just got busy and he'll be on the next train.
He said he was saying, yeah, we were just looking at trains, and then it's like, you guys separated, and he's like, yeah, and so they end up talking with the people there on the train, and there's someone is there that's able to speak Russian, and they can communicate, and was saying we made calls to the station and different hotels down there and see if there's an American guy that's running the room or is there like at the station.
Yeah.
And you wait here at this next town.
At Irkutsk.
What was that?
Irkutsk is where they were going. Is the next town, the next area they're stopping at, their next stop. And so, yeah, they're like,
and Abby, they're nice enough to get off with her there, right? They could have kept going, but they realize that she doesn't know, she's not as well versed in the travel. They've been to Russia, several times, right? So, they help as she gets a hotel room there, and they're gonna help her out, right? Yeah. Very nice people.
Yeah. She gets a call. She's able to get a call from the train station in Irkutsk that
that's right,
that they have an American showed up, and so she gets excited. She's like, they found him, and then it turns out it's not him.
Yeah. So they're eating dinner at the restaurant, the three of them, right? And then Jesse sees one of the dolls there in the restaurant. She realizes that, it's like identical to like Carlos, and he's like, oh, I thought you said these are like unique dolls, right? Yeah.
So this is when Abby finds out about the dolls.
And then she gets upset and she goes to bed. So now, Carlos has got thinking about, anyway. Right. And so this, now Jesse and Carlos are alone. So like, this is what drives like the next part of this act of the movie, right?
Yeah.
And again, like, she's already foreign attached to Abby. And he's like, they don't involve Abby in these schemes.
Yeah.
She's, she doesn't need to get in trouble. Right. So,
and then
finally, Carlos
starts to get Jesse to loosen up a little bit, and she actually starts taking some shots.
Right, because while they were there, when it was all three of them, he ordered like a bottle of vodka, and they had shot glasses there, and they were drinking and doing shots, and then finally, she can kind of tell like she's like angry at him, but also kind of attracted to him because of him being a little bit wild. And
it's sort of reminding her of her previous life,
where
before she met Roy,
the bad guy, kind of like how Abby likes the bad guy, like kind of a charming guy, but you can tell is not a good guy. Right. And she's kind of straightforward about it. It's like, like I wish I met you like 10 years ago because I would like a good fuck. Right. And then she takes a shot and she leaves, which is strange because like things happen when you have random relations with people, even if you have condoms, and especially when there's alcohol involved. Yes, because then ask Catherine Heigl about that one. And then you got some random person's baby in you.
It's not some random person. It's Seth Rogen.
That's right.
So Jesse goes to bed next morning.
And I should say this too. Like, and one of the reasons he's like excited to, stay the night like in a town while they wait for Roy. He's like, you can get like actual food at the hotel as opposed to the train, which is not true because it's again it's in the middle of Siberia at a 2-star hotel, right?
Yeah,
it's like staying at a Motel 6 in South Dakota. Like, what do you expect to get?
Yeah. But anyway, so next morning, Jesse wakes up, she's packing, gets a phone call. It's Roy.
She's excited. Roy's excited. There's a knock on the door, and it's Carlos, and he needs to use her shower because his is broken.
Yes, his shower's broken.
And he makes sure that when he takes his pants off, it shows his butt.
Yeah, so so she lets him in. He goes in the bathroom, doesn't even shut the door, just strips down right there. Make sure that his butt's showing when she's looking toward the bathroom.
She looks away because he's thinking about her husband, and rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and they're gonna say like, okay, and she says that she ends up, now the shower's going, he's in there in the shower, and she calls off to him, like going down the lobby. Roy's gonna be meeting us here.
Yeah, they found Roy. I'm going.
And then they get down there to the lobby, and
her suitcase. She had her suitcase on the bed while she was packing up. So she had her suitcase on the bed while she was packing up, and so she left. She just left her suitcase there when she left.
The suitcase as she leaves. Foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna gain some weight.
Yeah. So she goes down to the front desk, and then a few minutes later, Carlos comes down and meets her there, and she's like, "I'm gonna go meet up with Roy." And Carlos is like, "Well, it's gonna be a few hours before his train gets here."
And he has 2 little brochures you get like at hotels about local sites.
Yeah.
It's like, which one do you want to see?
He's like, "You like taking pictures, don't you? Let's go find some stuff to take pictures of." We got like 4 hours. On this
rickety bus that seems like it's straight out of the movie Hostel.
Yep.
And takes him into the middle of Siberia, and drops him off, and they go through the woods, and they kind of get separated, and now it feels like a scene out of The Sopranos.
Mm-hmm.
And she's gonna get her head blown off and get buried.
It seems like it really feels like one of those a scene, taking somebody out and executing them out in the middle of nowhere kind of thing.
But instead, she comes out to a clearing and sees Carlos again, right? And there's this old church, right? And it's basically just kind of the shell.
Yeah, it's falling apart, and it's basically the ruins of an old church.
That's probably was there before like the Bolsheviks revolution, right? And it's just you kind of wonder like who was worshiping in this place. Like you look there, almost looks like no one lived close ever.
Yeah,
to this little church.
Yeah, so she's taking pictures of everything. She does one thing that she does not like to do is take posed photographs.
Yes,
she likes to catch the realism of what's going on. I love that.
I don't like posed photos either.
But Carlos convinces her to take some posed photos. She takes a picture of him, with his arms spread out and everything. With
the church in the
background.
But then, she's also taking pictures of and there's an eagle flying in the sky, and then they go in the church, and she's taking pictures of the mosaics that are in there, and then they get close to each other.
But then Carlos convinces her to let him take a picture of her.
Oh, that's right. Thank you.
And that's where she's like, "I don't like posed photos," and so he real quick snaps one of her and his camera back, and then they've been getting a little close.
Does the whole thing, he pulls out, takes it away, and then they get close and start to kiss a bit.
They start to kiss, and
what's the thing that breaks her distraction off of it? I can't remember.
I think she sees the icon on the wall, like the mural on the wall.
Oh, that's right.
And she's reminded, "I'm married."
That's what it is.
Shouldn't be doing this.
The Virgin, with the Christ child.
Yeah,
it's the baby that snaps her back out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and then she starts walking out.
So she's like, "Okay, I can't do this. I can't do this," because at this point, they had almost had each other's pants off.
We almost saw baby Carlos.
They're making out, and while they're doing that, preparing to take each other's pants off. And, then she stops it and she walks out. Carlos comes after her, comes chasing after her.
I don't know why, but now you put the image in my head of Joss Holloway just doing the Burt Reynolds after he and Anna Lucia. You got his.
Oh yeah.
His gleaming pectorals.
Yeah.
Anyway, he goes after her.
Yeah, he goes after her, and she keeps on telling him, "No, I can't do this. Don't, stay away." And he keeps getting up, trying to rape her.
Yeah, essentially.
And
she's able to find a post.
Yes, she's able to find
an old fence post or pole. There's something there, thankfully, right?
Yeah, and so she kind of swings it at him to get him away, and hits him with it, and he keeps on coming after her. So she hits him again, keeps on coming after her. She ends up hitting him in the head.
Right, and he says "I won't hurt you," and then she swings it again.
Mm-hmm. She swings it again and ends up killing him. Yeah, so Carlos drops dead in the snow.
Yep. And now she's panicking and she runs back to the road and, she's able to get the bus back in the town. And then Roy's there, right?
She notices some blood on her clothes, on her jacket. So
that's right. She gets back first and she's washing it off.
Yeah, she's trying to wash the blood off of her coat. And then, so she, after she fails to get the blood washed off her coat, she just gets rid of the coat or packs it in her suitcase or packs it away in her bag or something. I don't know. We never really see that coat again. So.
But is that when she finds the dolls before she gets back on the train, right?
No, she finds a mattress.
She finds them when she gets back on the train.
Yeah, she finds them when she gets back on the train, yeah.
Yeah, because it would be a lot easier to dispose of them if she found them before.
So the train pulls up. No, she goes out front and meets up with Roy, who just got in there, and he's like, "Where's your coat?" Because she's not wearing a coat and she's in the middle of Siberia. So, like, "Where's your coat?" And she's like, "I don't know. It's in my bag. It's in my suitcase." And she goes to hug him and notices some blood on her glove.
That's right.
So she takes her gloves off real quick before she hugs him so that he doesn't see the drop of blood on there.
Gloves are also good in Siberia.
Yes, gloves are very helpful in Siberia. It keeps your fingers from freezing.
No one wants frostbite.
Nope.
No.
So, they get on the train, and Roy is eager to introduce Jesse to his new buddy who he met on this train.
A little bit before that, as it's departing, Jesse's looking out the window, and Abby is looking for where Carlos is.
Yeah, she's looking around. She's looking for Carlos. She ends up, sort of running after the train.
Yes. She doesn't get on the train, right? And so now Roy is excited. Because Roy gets excited about new friends.
Yes. Roy loves meeting new people.
They're exotic. He met a Spanish dude named Carlos, and now he met a Russian dude named Gandhi.
Yes. Or Grinko. Met a Russian dude named Grinko. Played by Ben Kingsley.
Yes.
Who we saw at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
He is this Russian police detective who's on the trail of a drug smuggling ring.
Yep, and now they're cabin mates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So of course, she finds out pretty quick that he's a police officer, and so she's trying to hide the fact that she just killed a guy.
Just murdered somebody. She didn't murder somebody.
Self-defense.
She killed somebody. It's self-defense. Yes.
No, she maybe didn't have to hit him that last time, but
still,
pretty
justified.
Yeah.
The attack was just the
so,
swinging.
Yeah.
No. Anyway,
she was defending herself so she wouldn't be raped.
Exactly. And so they realize that he's also a narcotics officer, right? Mm-hmm. And so, which will just add more to the paranoia.
And then he starts talking about how the drug runners have gotten smart, and there's new techniques that they can use for drugs to where they can basically form them into whatever they want. Into different items. And so it's not just like a bag of heroin anymore. It's like, You can.
Yeah, you don't have to shove it up your butt to
Yeah.
smuggle it.
Yeah. You can form it into innocent items or innocent seeming items.
Like a hat. It can
Like a
also
hat.
be a hat.
Yes, it can also be a hat.
And Rory, he's like, oh, I wonder if that's like what about Carlos?
Yeah.
He's like, well, he can't remember the name at first. He's like,
Yeah.
what was his
It's like,
name?
what was his name? The guy, he was like obsessed with Carlos. How did he forget his name?
Maybe it was intentional. Maybe he just wanted to seem like he didn't know the guy that well.
Maybe. That could be.
I don't know.
That could be. But yeah, so Jessie excuses herself and goes back to the cabin because, she's sitting across from a cop and she just killed somebody. And she wants to get out of that situation. And so she goes back to the cabin and opens up her suitcase and it's
all the dolls
full of Russian nesting dolls.
No.
The same nesting dolls that Carlos was showing her before.
Now she's even more paranoid. Not paranoid.
Yeah.
She's right. Now she's all even more
and so
completely losing it.
Yeah, so she picks up the one that Carlos had shown her before, the one that's smiling, and she almost opens it up, then she puts it back down and picks up one of the other ones. Opens it up. There's one, smaller doll inside, but it doesn't open. It's just a solid doll inside there. So then, she gets it in her head that they're drugs. That This is what Grinko was talking about.
Well, okay, I got to get rid of this suitcase now.
Yeah. So
I won't wear clothes for the rest of this trip.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just walk around my husband. Anyway.
Yeah. But
she tries to get rid of it multiple ways.
Yeah. So she transfers them all into her backpack. She transferred all the dolls into her backpack, so they're not in the suitcase anymore, and they're easier to move around. And so every opportunity she gets, she tries to throw them out the window, but she gets interrupted before she can.
Yeah.
The train stops. She gets out. She's carrying the backpack. Sees a little fire, like a hobo fire.
And she's gonna burn them.
And she's just gonna toss them in there. But
Grinko keeps kind of following her. He's like,
yeah,
don't you want to take these pictures? And
yeah. And she's like, you're going to get a lot better views over here, because right now she's staring at like a hobo fire. So it's like, you can get a picture of that, or you can come over here where there's pretty things to take pictures
that in
of.
Los Angeles.
Yeah. So, she can't toss them in there now because Grinko's right there. So as they turn around to walk back, he offers to carry the backpack for her because it looks heavy.
It's not fully zipped up.
So he insists on carrying it.
If you have a compartment that's not got a lot of stuff in it, got
so
really work to get it.
He takes it, and she notices that one of the dolls is about to fall out through the spot of the zipper that's not fully closed, and so she's kind of watching hoping it doesn't fall out.
Again, and this is where the movie's really perfectly filmed, right? It's very Hitchcockian in suspense in terms of an understanding aspect. And not everything's revealed and wonder what's going to happen. And again, because some movies, okay, it's ultimately going to be all right. But you don't know here because we've been exposed to Ben Kingsley before in this movie and you don't trust him.
Yeah.
Right? And even if you kind of did trust him, they're going to be wrongfully accused of having drugs.
Yeah.
Right? And how they're going to explain this away without also revealing that there's a dead dude.
Yeah.
The next town, several towns over.
Yeah. So they get a little farther over, and when it looks like that doll is about to fall out of the backpack, then Jessie grabs the backpack from him, thanks him for carrying it for her, but I got it from here, and takes it.
Exactly, Dragon. He just looks at her suspiciously, right? And she continues to try to find ways, she tries to flush it down the toilet.
Yep.
She can't do that. She gets a Russian lady screaming at her again.
Yep.
She tries to open the door to between the train cars that throw them out. She gets yelled at again.
Yep.
And finally, Roy discovers the dolls.
Yeah, he's like, Roy discovers them. Where'd you get these? Did you buy all these?
And she admits almost everything.
Yeah, she admits almost everything. She admits that Carlos gave them to her, that she thinks that they're drugs, and she leaves out the part that Carlos is dead, and that
she leaves out the part about seeing his butt.
Yeah, she leaves out the part about seeing his butt and the part about
making out with him.
Yeah, making out with him, and then
Russian church,
and then killing him when
almost
he was trying to rape her.
Him, and then all that. The part about the shot, all that.
Yeah. So basically, she just revealed everything about the dolls. And nothing more about her interactions with Carlos.
As Ben King's Greek was like, tells Roy, like, your wife tells a lot of lies.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
But, I mean, she did put two and two together that he put the dolls in the suitcase when she left the room and left the suitcase on the bed.
But, he's, I guess, Roy's like, he rightfully thinks, like, we just got to present it and tell the story.
Yeah.
Like, they're probably going to believe us. I mean, like...
Yeah, but Roy doesn't know
it's
Russian cops.
Calculated risk, but he doesn't know that Grinko is corrupt.
Yeah.
Which he should have known, but...
Mm-hmm. Especially from the conversation earlier at the beginning of their train ride.
Right, but he accepts the story, right? He then, they reveal he has a partner that's there on the train too.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah,
right?
So Grinko has a partner, Kolzak, played by Thomas
Kretschmann. Yep.
Who, if you're a fan of the MCU, he played Strucker.
He did.
He played Wolfgang von Strucker in the MCU movies. And a couple
before
of them.
that, I was familiar with him even before this, from King Kong as the captain.
Mm-hmm. He was also in Wanted.
So he was. That's right. I haven't watched that movie in a long time. True. This motherfucker.
Yeah, I watched that one about a year ago or so. Yeah.
I like James McAvoy.
Yeah.
It's a different role for him there. That's a good one. Anyway. So they take a look at the dolls, and then they realize, they kind of smash a few of them, and then they find the one that's the drugs, right? And it's, heroin. Right?
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, there's more than just one that's drugs. There's
more
like
one,
all except the one that's smiling is the one that's not drugs. The rest of them are heroin that's shaped into the doll.
So
Ben Kingsley cuts a piece off of it, and he's like, "Yep, that's heroin."
So, but that's that. They go to bed, but then they wake up, right? And they're about to walk between cars, and then they see that the car that's behind them has been detached.
Mm-hmm.
They are now the trail car.
Yeah.
Right?
And
there's like no one left on the train.
It's like Jesse goes to open the door and falls out of the back of the train.
Yeah.
She's holding onto the door.
Roy's able to thankfully catch her and save her.
Yeah. So Roy's able to get her back in on the train, and they close the door. And they go back up, and there's nobody else in this train car at all. So they go a little bit farther, and
that's some serious power. They can go ahead and hide, stop like the Transsiberian Railroad like that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So they go a little bit farther up, and Grinko and Kolzak are sitting there at a table, and Grinko's like, "We need to talk."
He calls back the town where they were, right? And he's like, no, like they said that they saw a Spaniard with two American women.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So what Jesse had told him before about not having any contact with Carlos when she was at the hotel or anything like that they had stayed on the train and gone on, and she was the only one that got off. Yeah, they knew that she was lying.
So what I like about this, like the next half hour of this movie, you just get a lot of angry Ben Kingsley.
Yes.
I like angry Ben Kingsley.
Angry Ben Kingsley is great.
Like, the Sexy Beast type Ben Kingsley. Not totally that level, but if you've seen Sexy Beast, you get the idea. So they eventually stop the train in the middle of nowhere. They get them off the train and take him down to a bunker.
Yeah.
Right?
Take him down to a bunker where they're going to question them further. And when they get down there, they see someone laying down on a table.
It's Abby.
And she is beat up. She's beat to a pulp.
She's been
her face
beat up.
Face is all swollen. Her legs have been sliced up. Like they've taken a knife and just gouged her legs.
Well, and then as we see, as Jesse continues to not tell the truth, they continue to cut deeper into her leg.
Mm-hmm. Into Abby's leg, yeah.
Yes. And so Grinko tries to manipulate Jesse and saying, "Oh no, Jesse, Abby's not the good girl. She's the one that recruited Carlos, right?"
Yeah.
And
Jesse
Carlos had told Abby earlier. I mean, told Jesse earlier that Abby was innocent of it. So she doesn't believe it. She's trusting what Carlos said about it.
Yeah. So she's trusting what Carlos said about her and trying to convince them that Abby is innocent in this whole thing and they need to let her go.
But meanwhile, Kolzak is He's getting impatient.
Yeah, he's getting impatient.
He's ready to hurt them now.
Yeah, he pulls a gun and puts it to Woody Harrelson's head.
Yes.
And he is ready to shoot him. And so
Grinko, he's a little bit level-headed. He can think a bit more rationally. He realizes that they're kind of linked to having the drugs back in their possession. Not just the drugs, but the money. Well, they get the drugs, but the money. Back.
Yeah, the money. Because there's money associated with this drugs also that, so...
And the less bodies to hide, the better.
Yeah, so basically it's
be honest.
His whole investigation in the cold open ties to this because the money from the drugs and the money from that drug deal gone wrong at the beginning are the drugs that we're talking about here.
Yes.
And so but there was also money with those, and the money is nowhere to be found. There's a lot of money.
Grinko's like, no, we gotta let them alone, give them time to kind of talk about this. And it's the smart thing to do. It really is. There's a risk because they can escape, and they do.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so so Grinko takes Kozak outside the entrance of the bunker, and Jesse and Roy are talking. Roy is trying to get Jesse to tell him what happened because he knows that there's something she's not saying. And so she reveals to him that she killed Carlos.
And he ultimately, he's okay with it. He understands there's a reason.
He understands there's a reason behind it. She doesn't tell him that, she was getting frisky with him and then he tried to rape her.
He definitely understands that she probably felt threatened.
But yeah.
So they end up having to escape and unfortunately having to leave Abby there. But at the same time, they kind of had to think about themselves also. So
yeah. So
you don't blame it. You don't hold it against them, right? So, but Grinko realizes they're escaping and they chase them, but they're able to get out and get back to the train.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. So
and then the conductor on the train is obviously in on things as well, but
yeah.
now Roy gets to get in.
Yeah.
On the killing.
Roy gets to get in on the killing. So the conductor, like you said, he's in on the whole thing with Grinko and Kozak, and so Roy sneaks up behind him with a big wrench and starts beating him in the head with it until he stops moving. And then they toss him off the train. So
she's like, wait. She's like really confused, and you could tell she's actually slightly excited about it.
Yeah.
But he kind of kills him rather easily.
Yeah, he does.
So, he's kicking in, like, okay, survival is kind of kicking in. But I think he also just wants to operate the train.
That too. I think that's really what it is. Because, the conductor was in the way of the controls. He was between Roy and the train controls. And he really wanted to drive that train.
And he's wanted to drive a train since he was like 3.
Yeah. Nothing is getting...
And now he can...
He's like a fat kid in a buffet. Nothing's going to get between him and those controls.
Nothing.
So yeah, he's gonna drive a wrench into the dude's brain, so he can get those controls. His survival instinct kicks in, and he takes out the train conductor. They throw him overboard. They throw him off the train, and he's trying to figure out these controls. He knows he's read some manuals and stuff, so he kind of knows what he's doing, but at the same time, he's never actually done it before. So it's kind of trial and error.
Yeah.
But they get the train moving backwards.
Right.
So it starts rolling backwards as Grinko and Kozak are running up on the train.
They get back and they're able to get, as they approach back towards the train and they get back on.
Mm-hmm. Because they're not moving very fast. They're able to just run up to the side of the train and climb on.
They go fast later.
Yeah.
But not yet. So they have him now, but they're getting the train back to speed. And now they start questioning them again about where Carlos is, right? Now they're truly like gunpoint when they're doing all this again, right? And so finally Jesse admits that she killed Carlos.
Yeah.
And Cole's doesn't believe her. And meanwhile, there's another train approaching.
Yeah, there's another train approaching the opposite direction. Right. So these two trains are on a collision course, and so when Kozak is about to kill them,
Right.
The two trains collide.
And Grinko still does not want them to die. Like,
Grinko still doesn't want them to die, but Kolzak is bent on killing them.
Yes.
And so Kolzak's got his gun on him. He's about to pull the trigger, and the two trains meet up on the same track. And it's so as far as like train crashes go in movies, this one's very anticlimactic. Yes,
this is not like The Fugitive.
No, the trains hit each other, and then the train that they're on just kind of tips over and falls onto its side. Kind of like at the end of like in Ant-Man with the toy train that's going around, and it just hits and falls over, just tips over. It's kind of like that.
Yeah, no, it's not like Fugitive or the explosion in the subway tunnel in Die Hard with a Vengeance, right? Where stuff does happen, and this is it's a loud noise, and you kind of see them hit together, and then
this is probably the more realistic of the train crashes.
Oh no, yeah,
it's just rather anticlimactic compared to other movie train crashes. It's not even like as much going on as there is with the trolley in The Rock.
I love that dude. He's the hero.
Save yourselves.
Go back a few episodes and watch our episode on The Rock. We love Sean Connery here at the cinematic adventure.
Yeah.
We also love Nicolas Cage, because who doesn't love Nicolas Cage?
Yes.
Coming soon, Con Air.
Have you seen that meme of like pictures of Nicolas Cage through the years, and in '97 it's John Travolta?
Coming soon, Face Off. Yeah, coming soon, Face Off.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna do Face Off sometime. Yeah, so the train tips over.
Maybe Blockbuster. Maybe that's one that next time is Blockbusters. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. So the train tips over, knocks everybody off their feet, and when Kolzak gets back up, he's about to shoot him again. Like he's about to try to shoot him again.
And Ben Kingsley says he's going to do it, or Grinko says he's going to do it.
Yeah, Grinko says I'll do it.
Instead,
give me the gun. I'll do it.
One through.
Yeah. So he lifts up the gun to shoot. Or to make it look like he's going to shoot Roy and Jesse, but he turns the gun on Kolzak and shoots him in the head.
Because you got to remember, he is still trying to seem legit.
Yeah.
He's corrupt, but at this point, it's much easier for him to kill the actual criminal. Well, he's a criminal too. But yeah. It's a lot less complicated for him.
Yeah.
If he just kills his partner. So he kills his partner. So, and now, like, it's basically like army dudes that are, like, on the other train.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a military train.
And so, then, they obviously, like, they get Jessie now. She's on, they get her, like, on a little stretcher. They're going to take her to the hospital, right? Because she was just involved in a train collision.
Yep.
So, she sees.
They don't call it a train accident because that would imply someone was at fault. So it's a train collision.
Right. And there was someone at fault.
Listen to our Hot Fuzz episode.
That's way back.
Yeah, that's way back.
You gotta go way back for that one. Please do.
Yes.
Please do. I think we've evolved.
We have.
Over these episodes.
But that doesn't mean our early episodes aren't worth listening to.
Or not. Sexy.
Our early episodes are great episodes, in my opinion. But yeah,
and Hot Buzz is just such a great movie that you should just listen to it anyway and then watch Hot Buzz.
Yeah,
because Hot Buzz is just a masterpiece.
Yeah, it is.
And they should also watch our episode with Point Break with Tim Robinson.
Yes,
because that's a big piece of Hot Buzz. So anyway,
yes, it is.
So. They're bringing her to the ambulance, and then she sees Grinko, and she's trying to say, like, he tried to kill us. It's almost like Rita Richards. He left us! He left us! Yeah. Even though this time, like, Rita Richards was right. He left them.
Yes.
Like, Grinko didn't really try to kill them.
Yeah, Grinko wasn't the one that was trying to kill him. Kolzak
I
was
could
trying to
see
kill him.
how she might have interpreted it that
Yes,
way.
because they were partners.
But that wasn't the case necessarily. So, yeah. And so he walks off. Rinko. He's not found out to be some corrupt cop that is working for a drug lord in Russia.
Yeah, so he kind of lets them go, and they're taken to the hospital, and that's where they're speaking with people from the American Embassy.
American Embassy, yes.
And they explain to them that, you know, they discovered that Grinko was part of this drug ring.
Yeah. He's kind of the one that helped keep the attention away and kept things moving, right?
Yeah.
Because you do need a cop to help with these situations.
Yeah.
So they give them information about both Carlos, who has a long criminal history, including sexual assault.
Yes, including sexual assault and
So,
smuggling.
Never murder. They don't say murder.
No, they don't say murder.
He's not into that.
Yeah.
But still.
But drug smuggling, sexual assault.
Yeah. So, yeah. So obviously, you know, it wasn't Abby that was getting him. Like, he really did just meet Abby and wooed her and got her to help do some of his dirty work.
Or
right?
was it? So then when they're walking through the hospital, they see in one of the rooms Abby is there.
Yep.
Yeah, because they took Jesse to go see Abby, and so she's talking to Abby, and we don't see what she's saying to her. You know, we don't get to hear what she's saying to her, but you know, when she's done talking to her, then, you know, Roy, you know, asks what they talked about. She's like, I told her everything.
What do you mean? Everything. Anyway.
No, so then we get Roy and Jesse. They're on a plane on their way back to America.
On a plane. They're going home. They're happy. And then Roy, you know, he's had a long couple of weeks. He's gonna sleep on this flight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I have trouble sleeping on an airplane. You know,
but after the week they've had, I think,
given what they've had, like the flight from Moscow, I'm guessing they're probably from Moscow. You probably fly to the East Coast, not flying to like Japan or Hawaii, then over to California. You're probably flying. You can get a direct flight to New York or Atlanta or DC, right? And so he's gonna use all that time to sleep. He's not gonna watch some movies. It's 2008, so you know, you could probably be watching Michael Clayton or There Will Be Blood.
Yeah, I mean, and he would need to have a portable DVD player also in order to do that.
Yes,
unless there were like in-flight movies at the time on
that plane.
In-flight
movies at that time, right? So,
but even then, I mean, there wouldn't be a whole lot to choose from. Probably.
You would think too that the American consulate there would have gotten them on much better seats.
Yeah,
given what happened.
Yeah.
Like, hey, guess what? You know what?
We're going to go ahead and upgrade you to like business class.
You know, into business class.
We're not going to go full first class, but we'll get you into business class.
No, but you don't need to fly economy.
Yeah. Maybe, you know, economy plus at the lowest grade that we give you, but economy plus you get free headphones.
Yes. Anyway, it works out because then there's this kid in the row in front of them playing with a truck and some stuff on the seats. And the mom's like, "Don't bother that lady," and you know,
and she's, "It's okay," and she just smiles.
She sits very sweetly, and she smiles, and the kid keeps looking at her. Then she puts her head, you know, on Roy, on his shoulder or chest. Her eyes look down. His tray table is there, and you can tell she's looking through the tray table and thinking about joining the Mile High Club with him.
Yep. She has had an exciting week. We don't see
them join the Mile High Club together because he sleeps the entire flight.
Mm-hmm.
But like they missed out on the train love.
Yeah.
right?
So they're
but
trying to get some plane
I don't
life.
know. The Mile High Club is a completely different stratosphere.
Yes.
And she's thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because now she wants kids, and she's like, this is going to happen on this flight.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to put a baby in
He's
me
like,
now.
when this flight lands, I'm going to be pregnant.
And they named the kid Delta. Anyway.
So.
But the movie doesn't end.
No.
Does not end with them.
Cuts back to the snowy landscape and the church.
Of Siberia.
The old church that they were at earlier. And we get Abby.
She's
walking
in a big
through the woods.
leg brace, and she's got a little crutch, and it's almost kind of like a cross-catching skiing pole because it is the snow.
Yeah. Yeah, so she's walking out of the woods.
She's still recovering from having her, leg completely gouged.
Yeah, and we realized that Jessie, in her little conversation with Abby at the hospital, part of what she told her was where Carlos is. Like where she left his body. Because she just left it laying in the snow.
Yeah. And we all know, we don't know how long it's been. It's been long enough for her to kind of recover, but not long enough that she's still healing from still healing from the wounds. And she gets him, his body's pretty much covered in snow.
Yeah. And
he's frozen like Jack Nicholson in The Shining.
Yep. Yep. And she reaches down to his jacket, opens up his jacket, and pulls out just
she finds
bunch of money.
Is able to tear apart the lining.
Yeah, she tears apart the lining. Right. Yeah, and hidden inside his jacket is all this money. All the money from the drugs. And if she didn't know about the drugs, how did she know the money was there?
That's right.
So was she really the mastermind of all this?
It might have been. I don't know. You're left with that question because he did know exactly where to find it.
Yes. I mean, they never explicitly state that she was even a part of it. But if she wasn't a part of it, if she knew nothing about it, how would she know where the money was?
Maybe maybe she's not the mastermind, but maybe she was far more complicit than you realized.
Yep. And so she walks away with the money, and then the credits roll.
I'm kind of fine with Kate Mara having the money more than Ben Kingsley having the money.
Yeah, me too.
I love Ben Kingsley. But
yeah,
Ben Kingsley will be fine. Ben Kingsley finds a way.
Yes. Like life.
Yes. That's it. They went to Siberia and did not bring back herpes.
No, they didn't. They didn't bring back herpes. I mean, they didn't go to Vegas, so.
Well, yeah. I mean, they could have gone, yeah. They didn't bring back the virus from Hong Kong, from China.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Or Macau. They could have gone to Macau.
Yeah,
they could have seen it there. Anyway, but no, they came back and, and you get the feeling at the end that they will be happy together.
Yes, because they've shared murder. They've bonded over murder.
One prevented it so she wouldn't be raped. The other because he wanted to drive a train. I mean, granted, they were also trying to escape.
Yeah. I mean, I guess technically only one of those was murder, but
I mean, you could still justify Roy's.
Yes, you can still justify Roy's.
They need to escape, but he could have been could have just threatened him and had him drive.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But either way, they bonded over killing people. And, what better way is there for, a couple to bring a child into the world than as the product of, killing people? Because as one life ends, another begins.
The Delta, it could be murder.
Yep.
Murder Delta.
Yeah.
Might be hard to get a passport. His name is Murder.
It might be. But, I mean, they could justify it by saying, he likes crows.
That's Transsiberian.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like, the movie's a little under 2 hours. Tightly kind of scripted.
I mean,
and he really had, like, the thing that
it moves
me
though.
About it.
It's a little under 2 hours, but it like, moves.
Carlos gets dispatched halfway in the movie. Like, for some reason in my mind, like, that character is kind of a central part of most of the movie.
Yeah.
And he is because of the hiding of the murder.
Yeah.
Or the hiding of the killing. Right? Or how that's lingering with Jesse. But, like, no, it's yeah, for some reason I thought he was actively part of the movie more. But he gets killed like halfway through the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought I remember him being in a bigger part of the movie too.
Act of the movie, or I guess second act. If you think about the first act is when Rory disappears. Second act ends when they kill, Carlos, and the third act is the rest of the movie. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's tightly done and.
It's suspenseful throughout. Like
it's suspenseful.
Yeah, it's suspenseful throughout the entire movie. It's one of those ones. It keeps your attention. If it had more of a Hollywood shine to it, then you're like, oh yeah, everything's gonna be okay. Yeah, like you may not exactly know how it's gonna get there, but you're confident about that. But they do a good job of making you just not sure exactly if they're gonna get away. Yeah, or both of them will get away. Yeah, I mean, they could very easily. One of them might actually get a bullet to the head. Yeah, they could very easily have killed one or both of them, and then just had Ben Kingsley walk off into the sunset at the end of the movie. Right. The John Williams score. Yeah, but this is but they didn't. No. I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they didn't either. But yeah, no, they did a great job. Exactly the way they wrapped it up. It's an extremely underrated movie, in my opinion. Yeah, I think it's a movie that it's one of those movies I think at the time because it was an independent movie and people kind of discovered a bit of it towards the end of that year or the next year as they were just kind of checking recent releases and they liked it, but it hasn't really held on into the minds as some independent movies do. Yeah, right. Like we talk about Brad Anderson, he directed The Mechanist, right, which is probably a far more enduring movie than this for most people, right? Mm-hmm. But if you told most people that there's a movie called Transsiberian with Woody Harrelson, they'd be like, what are you talking about? Yep. The other good Brad Anderson movie, by the way, is Session 9. Right? So, like, it's kind of funny. I was looking at his filmography, and it's funny. It feels like the last, dozen years or so, his movies have just went in a completely different direction. They had Session 9, The Mechanist, and Transsiberian. Yeah, and then he directed some episodes and some great shows, too. But, he had The Call with Halle Berry, Fractured. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what's happened. Yeah, he directed a couple episodes of The Wire. Yeah. Which I forget where we were earlier. I was thinking about The Wire. I was talking about this. He directed 12 episodes of Fringe. Mm-hmm. The Cost in The Wire. That's the one. An episode of The Shield. Yeah, that was a good episode. Yeah, I guess part of it was just thinking about the drug aspect of it and then how the cops deal with it. Yeah, so... Boardwalk Empire, did an episode of. He directed the pilot to the Frequency TV show. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So, yeah, it's, I said it earlier, it's actually streaming on, Prime Video. So, we got a Prime subscription. Go ahead and watch it if you haven't seen it, and let us know what you think. Because it's one that I was wondering, how would I view this almost 15 years later? Am I actually still going to like this movie? And I did. It was very good. It was well directed, and it was actually very, very well acted. Yes, it was. You got the 5 principals really, are really good, and they all bring something very different to the movie. Yeah, they do. But they're all very good. Yeah, I mean, I remembered this after the first time we saw it, and being so many years, I remembered it being good. I remembered it being really good. I just couldn't remember what was so good about it until the other day when I watched it, and. yeah, it's just everything you just said. It's very well directed, very well acted, suspenseful throughout.
It's written well.
Keeps you on the edge of your seat.
They don't telegraph too much. They develop the characters just enough.
Yeah, I mean, sure, there are some things in there that are kind of predictable, but there are things that are, always going to be predictable.
Yeah.
It's a solid
Transsiberian.
It's a solid thriller, and yeah, that's Transsiberian. So, if you want to follow us on social media, we are on Facebook and Instagram and Threads. Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. The and is spelled out A&D. It's not an ampersand like the name of the podcast. We are also on X or Twitter. That is R&T Cinematic. And if you want to see what we think about different movies that maybe we haven't done on the podcast or have done on there, or maybe we'll do in the future, then check out our Letterboxd. And that is Cine Adventure or Cine Adventure, CINE Adventure. So come on over and interact with us on those social media services. And yeah, let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of the podcast. If you want to send us an email, our email address is robandtonyscinematicadventure@gmail.com. Once again, the and is spelled out A&D. It's not an ampersand like the name of the podcast. But yeah, so let us know what did you think about Transsiberian? Are there other like smaller, more independent movies that you think we should do on this podcast?
They could be recent. They could be from that same time period. They could go even further back.
Yeah.
And they could be really obscure with complete no-name actors, or they could be something like this that actually has some A-list stars that chose to be in a smaller production like this.
Yeah, so let us know what you think. If you have suggestions of movies that you think we should do on the podcast, that you think we should cover, then let us know what they are. We have a list of movies that we put together that is ever evolving. So we're always adding movies to it. We want to do some movies that you guys want us to do, some stuff that you want to hear about. So yeah, just let us know what you think, what you want us to do and all that. But yeah, go to your favorite podcasting app, whatever app you're listening to us on, and give us a like and subscribe.
Download,
comment, all that stuff. Give us a good rating and a good review. If you enjoy what you're hearing, because that helps us to move up in the standings. It helps us move up in the search.
Boost us.
It helps with the recommendations,
and we can do more for you at that point.
Exactly. It helps with the recommendations for these different apps. They recommend us to more people so that we can reach more ears. So on that subject of other movies, I'm excited about this next one. Me too.
Because the next one is I would have to take a look at when it was released. It actually was a top 10 movie of the year in terms of box office, and it's got one of our favorite movie stars.
Yes, one of our favorite movie stars in it, and I will give you a hint on what it is. Get to the chopper.
And it's funny because we thought about doing this movie several months ago when we did Rocky.
Yeah. Because
we
thought about doing it as a little Carl Weathers tribute, but we ended up doing Rocky instead for that. But yes, of course, we are doing Predator next. The Arnold Schwarzenegger, Carl Weathers, Jesse Ventura, Bill Duke.
Don't forget Jesse Ventura.
Shane Black, classic.
Shane Black dies early. Sorry.
Spoiler alert. But no, we are doing Predator. The first Predator movie. I know there have been several Predators since then.
Yes.
But we were doing the original.
The sci-fi action slasher classic.
Mm-hmm.
We can get into the genre next week when we talk about it.
Yep. So join us next time for Predator.